And that rand's taking a bit of a beating, 16 Rand 43 for a US dollar this afternoon. And you can start seeing what's happening with those recession fears, local currencies in emerging markets taking a bit of a hit. All right, so let's get into that story now. South Africa's economy needs to start producing and selling more electric vehicles. The National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of South Africa says if it does not, the economy risks losing out on billions of rands in exports. Mike Mabasa is the Chief Executive Officer of Naamsa. He joins me now. Mike, thanks very much indeed for your time. So, I mean, we've had an impressive year producing vehicles in this country, haven't we? Much of it going to Europe. And the problem, as I understand it, is that they are switching to electric vehicles fast. And the fact is, policy-wise here in South Africa, we're just not making that change. Is that your biggest concern this week?
Yeah, absolutely, Devin. And thank you very much for having us this afternoon. Absolutely. So South Africa is obviously the 21st biggest manufacturer of vehicles globally. And 64% of what we are producing in this country is actually exported to 152 different markets around the world. If you look at 2021 alone, and you look at export earnings that came into South Africa as a result of our exports, we've brought in about 207 billion rands in 2021 under very, very difficult COVID-19 challenges, and obviously some of the supply chain challenges that we have globally. Our biggest challenge, I think you've summarized it very well, that many of the countries where we are currently exporting our vehicles into have already given us notice that in the next 10 to 15 years, they will no longer be accepting the vehicles that we are currently producing in South Africa to come into those markets because they are completely banning internal combustion engines in their markets, and they would obviously not be allowing South Africa to bring in those cars in the next 10 years or so.
All right, so where's the barrier, Mike? Because we've had this conversation before. Is it on the policy front, just creating the allowance for those manufacturers to get into the manufacturing of electric vehicles, or is it beyond that? Capabilities, competency, where's the biggest barrier here for us?
Well, look, I think it's a multiplicity of different aspects that we certainly have to look at very, very quickly. Obviously, policy plays a very, very important role. Because remember, all the automotive markets around the world, whether you're looking at the United States, you're looking at Germany, you're looking at Asia, particularly China, many of those markets are fully supported by their governments in terms of the introduction of incentive programs, in terms of introduction of programs that assist consumers to be able to do the switch from internal combustion engines into electric vehicles. So government policy is absolutely sacrosanct in order to be able to create that particular certainty. But equally, the sector itself, the automotive industry, also has a very important role to play, because we now have to reinvest in retooling all our manufacturing plants. We need to obviously be able to begin to reinvest in the current capability of our plants, because the plants that we are currently having will obviously not be fit for purpose in order to be able to produce electric vehicles. And then, of course, lastly, what is very, very key for us as well is the future of work in terms of skills, because the type of people that we have today in the market is obviously going to be a completely different set of skills that we are going to require in order for us to be able to make sure that we've got the right people who are going to be really helping us to manage some of the technology that is coming through.
I would imagine, this is my final question to you, Mike, that issue of skills is also situated in this collaboration that you have with about 40 CEOs, including leaders of several local manufacturers and importers, on getting this off the ground. But of course, you're going to need to have that help on the policy front as well.
Absolutely. So what we are currently doing is that we're conducting currently what we call the comprehensive skills gap analysis for South Africa, so that we can really be able to quickly understand the type of skills that we have today in the market, which of those skills are becoming increasingly irrelevant to take us into the new future, and obviously which of those new skills we need, which we do not have that will help us to be able to move swiftly into the production of new vehicles. And we're talking to universities because many of them have also agreed that the type of curriculum that they have today is still obviously old curriculum, extremely outdated, because if you look at some of our engineering courses, they are very old, and we need to be able to renew those. And in order to be able to make sure that we are able to calibrate those quickly, that work needs to start now so that we are ready as South Africa to be able to deal with the change that is required.
No, that's certainly the case. Well, thanks very much indeed, Mike Mabasa from the National Association of Automobile Manufacturers of South Africa. That's his word on the future of electric vehicles in this country. All right.